Algae can be used as a fuel source? No way! In Dunahay et al.'s article, Genetic Engineering of Microalgae for Fuel Production, there is a discussion on how an organism that lives in the ocean could be used for fuel production. Everyone in this room has ridden or driven in a vehicle that uses fossil fuels. Imagine a new way to propel your vehicle. Instead of fossil fuels, imagine using algae from the seas, a cleaner and more efficient way of transportation. And from the survey you guys took from me, I saw the majority of you said renewable energy is relevant in today's society. I also saw in my survey that most of you think genetically modified organisms in food are bad or you're unsure about it. I have seen forms of algae on local lakes. The idea of turning genetics of that kind of organism into fuel never crossed my mind. I have now done research in the matter and have become informed to a certain level. I also have thought more about genetically modified organisms in food, and I've also become informed on that topic as well. There are negative aspects to genetic engineering. However, the uses for fuel and food are positive and lasting. They make genetic engineering a big idea for the future. Let's talk about fuel. Algae is clean, new energy and is needed in today's society. In the article, A Review of Biofuel Production from Microalgal Biomass Using Paralysis Method by Azizi et al., the idea of biofuels is discussed. An exact quote would be, "Due to the depletion of fossil fuels and their environmental issues, it is necessary to find energy resources which are renewable." This is a picture of red algae, which is one of the algae found in the ocean. And scientists in this article have specifically looked at red algae to find the chemical properties of the organism to turn it into fuel. In this article, fossil fuels are depleting, they say. Our reservoirs are getting less and less each day, and the costs for fossil fuels are going up. According to Azizi et al., microalgae could be the answer. Genetic engineering is what makes it possible. Changing the chemical makeup of algae is the reason that renewable energy is possible. As I said in my introduction, geneticists think algae could be the answer for the fossil fuel problem. In Quinsong et al.'s article, Advances in Genetic Engineering of Marine Algae, important aspects of algae are researched and thought about. Quinsong et al., the authors, think algae is the best choice for renewable energy for two reasons. It's cheap and there's a lot of it. There's a lot of algae like this in the ocean, and some of it could even be found in the lakes. Because of the growing fossil fuel costs and the depletion of our reservoirs, there needs to be a lower cost for fuel according to Quinsong et al. Genetic engineering is what makes it possible, these ideas possible. Without it, the processes may not be viable. Let's move on to food. The distribution of food is important in today's society. Not everyone wants to spend money and time looking for foods without GMOs. In Beth Baker's article, Synthetic Biology, she says if so many farmers buy GMOs, genetically modified seeds, the price for that food goes down, which is good for the population as a whole. This makes it affordable to the mass population. Without genetic engineering, food prices would be different. Another negative side of genetic engineering, people say, is the health concerns. Citizens want to know what is in their food. However, there's no basis for these concerns, according to Medline Plus's article, Genetically Engineered Foods. An exact quote is, "These concerns have proven to be unfounded. None of the genetically engineered foods used today have caused any of these problems." The problems that they listed were cancer and side effects because genetically modified organisms are approved by the FDA and have proven to be okay for human consumption. People do have a right to know what's in their food. However, according to Medline Plus's article, there's no basis for concern of cancer and that sort of thing with genetically modified organisms. An interesting study was conducted in New Zealand by B.H. Small et al. The results can be applied to society as a whole. Respondents that were asked about their feelings toward genetic engineering had an overall negative outlook on genetic engineering. They said they didn't want genetic engineering to harm the environment or people. They wanted companies that were genetically engineering algae like this or food to be held accountable for their actions. However, the same respondents gave overwhelming support for the food and medical supply, the food and medical side of genetic engineering. These are the same respondents that gave a negative outlook. The like and dislike relationship for genetic engineering in algae and for food in this article show how the positives of genetic engineering outweigh the negative side. I'm now going to show you a video from a TED Talk from an actual geneticist, and it has great pictures and really shows you what genetic engineering is all about.
You can see the sub-1 variety does great. In fact, it produces 3.5 times more grain than the conventional variety.
This is the side that has the sub-1, which is the gene that makes it water resistant. This is rice, and the sub-1 gene is the gene that makes it water resistant and can be used in submersion and grow while it's being submerged.
I love this video because it shows the power of plant genetics to help farmers. Last year, with the help of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, 3.5 million farmers grew sub-1 rice. Thank you. Now, many people don't mind genetic modification when it comes to moving rice genes around, rice genes and rice plants, or even when it comes to mixing species together through grafting or random mutagenesis. But when it comes to taking genes from viruses and bacteria and putting them into plants, a lot of people say, yuck. Why would you do that? The reason is that sometimes it's the cheapest, safest, and most effective technology for enhancing food security and advancing sustainable agriculture. I'm going to give you 3 examples. First, take a look at papaya. It's delicious, right? But now, look at this papaya. This papaya is infected with papaya ring spot virus. In the 1950s, this virus nearly wiped out the entire production of papaya on the island of Oahu in Hawaii. Many people thought that the Hawaiian papaya was doomed. But then, a local Hawaiian, a plant pathologist named Dennis Gonzalez, decided to try to fight this disease using genetic engineering.
She goes in to talk about how that specific plant, on the outside of the farm, it didn't grow very well, but on the inside where the genetically modified papaya plant was, it grew very well and withstood that disease. As I said before, and to conclude, there are negative aspects to genetic engineering, but the information I have provided and shown give reason for genetic engineering to be positive in both food and for fuel. And some could say it may even be necessary. The processes and ideas discussed make genetic engineering a big idea for the future. So the next time you indulge your favorite snack or ride in a car, think about all the different ways in genetic engineering that went into your fuel, the different ways fuel could be used, and the genetic engineering that went into your food. Thank you.